Good noon. Neither afternoon nor before noon, it's noon. So, we'll start with our psychology class 25. We have already covered our introduction chapter, research method, methods of psychology, and measurement of individual differences. That is in your paper 2 psychology, as far as UPSC syllabus is concerned. Now, we'll start with another block. That another block is your cognitive psychology. Just giving you a brief idea of cognitive psychology today. Thereafter, we'll be covering various chapters. Today, we'll introduce a chapter under this SAP. What is SAP? SAP is your sensation, attention, and perception. This is the chapter we will introduce today. But before introducing your chapter, we will first and foremost see what actually is cognitive psychology. When we talk about cognitive psychology, what is the meaning? As we have already told you that psychology is the scientific study of human behavior, which is a word which you can see, plus cognitive or mental processes. When we talk about the mental process and study it, this is the zone of cognitive psychology. See what happened. First and foremost, the discipline of psychology got an independent identity under the school of structuralism, who started studying the consciousness and its structure of mind or structure of consciousness. You can use any of them, but better idea is to use conscious. So after that emerged your school of, if you remember, structuralism, functionalism, behaviorism. Then comes psychoanalytic school, humanistic school, and cognitive psychology. So, cognitive psychology was the last to emerge, and cognitive psychology has remained dominant in the form of cognitive revolution. After this structuralism, functionalism, and behaviorism, there came another school here. Spanning from these two is your Gestalt psychology. Psychology of perception or psychology of Gestalt says that holism. The essence of whole is more than sum of its parts. Because structuralism was talking about, functionalism was talking about, behaviorism was talking about the reductionist approach. So they came up with a molar approach, not molecular approach. Molar, seeing things as a whole. There came phenomena, phi, lights of alternating nature are there, and if they are placed in a serial, you will feel as if the light is moving. When you see a circle, a small part is missing. From a far away position, you will realize that it's a complete circle. Because in your mind, in your perception, you see things in entirety, gestalt. So the emergence of cognitive psychology was there, had emerged cognitive psychology had emerged here itself. I will tell you how all the impact of cognitive psychology has been on the school of behaviorism, school of learning also. So, the emergence of cognitive psychology owes to this man, Ebbinghaus. Have you heard his name? Many of you might have heard about his name. Ebbinghaus gave your forgetting curve. That is how memory works as far as time elapsed, how much of the information which you have read remains in your mind, which you can retain. So the curve which comes out as this. You have read some information, the immediate recall. This is your time dimension, T. This is the information retained. Retained means whatever you studied, how much you can recall. Immediate recall means almost 100%. Immediate recall means almost 100% of retention. Almost. Though that is also not possible. But largely what happens? A large part of it gets decayed. So the curve is like this. This information is lost, and the time, the large part is lost in the period of 72 hours. 72 hours, large part of information is lost. Almost some 15-20% remains, and that, if rehearsed, continues in this direction. Where did we use it? In the eyewitness memory. Where can we use it for our study purpose? Whenever you study something, try to revise it. When people ask me how many hours to study, I just tell them one thing. It is not about how many hours you are studying. Suppose you are studying for 8 hours. But whatever information you have studied, first and foremost, you have to give your 100% of attention. If you give 100% of attention and you use this theory, what is this theory? LOPA, levels of processing approach. So you will retain most of the information when you are covering this semantic level, not the structural, neither phonetic, how it appears, what is the structure, what does it sound like, the semantic level, what is its meaning. If you understand the meaning, the context of the information, you will retain large part of information. First thing, you have to attend to it, then to use mnemonics. See, you have studied psychology, you have to use it, right? Make mnemonics for your study. Make stories. You use your prior information, weave a story around that information so that you can retain it as much as you can by doing these methods, by using these methods. So, if you look at the Ebbinghaus curve, forgetting curve, it says that you must revise this information within that bracket of 3 days. And that is why when eyewitness, they are called by the court and they are asked, you know, how much do you remember? If you are calling this eyewitness after 10 days, the information will be distorted. Firstly, it will be lost. Then the eyewitness will create his or her own memory, constructed memory. And when the lawyer from the opposition will ask certain probing questions, then the eyewitness validity will lose its relevance. It will not be valid. That is why, that's what happens in most of the cases. That's why eyewitnesses or any kind of evidence, that all should be retained within these 3 days. This is one thing. You have understood how you will be using this for your learning purpose. When you apply the things, when you use your concepts in your real life, daily life, then you improve like anything. That is the essence of working smart. So the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve, one thing. Secondly, Ebbinghaus also did some researches about the spaced learning, that you did some learning, after that you gave it a gap. First of all, you broke it in frames, that is broke it in parts. Then after learning the chapter 1, you took some gap and then again studied, rather than doing the massed practice. What is mass practice? Studying everything in one go. What is spaced learning? Giving a gap. What happens in the gap? In the gap, you are actually rehearsing it. Large part of it you can retain by using what? You see this, all this, von Restroff. Have you heard of this von Restroff effect? What is von Restroff effect? Von Restroff effect says that you are reading large part of it, but you highlight the important information. Once you highlight the important information, it remains in your mind for a longer period. So the recall is easier. This is von Restroff, nothing else. The name may appear very complex, but it's very simple. You all do this. Highlight the important things. This is the essence of your learning. So this space learning, firstly the forgetting curve, then the spaced learning, given by Ebbinghaus. Now Ebbinghaus, the method Ebbinghaus used was this: introspection. You remember the introspection was a method used by structuralists also, the school of structuralism. But here the Ebbinghaus method of introspection was rather scientific and complex, to study the effect of information on memory, how memory works. Ebbinghaus also gave one more thing, that is your serial position curve. The information which you studied initially, the information which you studied in the end, this is recency effect. This is primacy effect. Primacy and recency. The information retained for these two parts are really high, as you can see. Why? Because the thing which you have been shown for the first time, see, there is a method of textoscope. This is a screen on which lots of nonsense syllables. What is nonsense syllables? These are the words which does not make any sense to you. They are displayed. zom, zoom, grob, tot. These words don't make any sense. They are displayed to you. One display came, after that another display. All displays are there. When people were asked to recall, they were able to do better recall for the words which were shown for the first time, that is the words which appeared initially, and they also did very good recall for the words which appeared at the last. That is called your primacy and recency effect. These two effects. And recency. Primacy effect, recency effect. Serial position curve. The position of words. So initial words remain high on recall, later words remain high on recall. This is your serial position curve. This is the evolution of cognitive psychology. Then after that, you must have heard this name, Thorndike. Thorndike, like Pavlov, Skinner, and Watson, James Watson, was studying the conditioning. What were they studying? Conditioning. Classical conditioning, operant conditioning. Conditioning. What is conditioning? What happened in Pavlov's dog, Pavlov's experiment? Conditioned stimulus and unconditioned stimulus. That is your food. Here the bell. They were associated for a longer period of time, that started evoking the same response. Salivation, saliva. Dog started salivating even when the bell was rung. Why? Because the bell and food were associated for a longer period of time. What Thorndike says is this phenomenon is law of effect. That this is happening because the food and bell, they were associated for long period of time. That is the only reason. The neural network inside the mind of dog, the neural network, cannot differentiate between the bell and the food, and that is why it is happening. What Pavlov, Skinner, and Watson did not believe on this. They worked on behaviorist principles. But Thorndike said, no, there is a law of effect, because these two are getting connected and connected for a very long period of time, these two, food and bell, and that is why the neural networks under the dog's brain, in the dog's mind, they cannot differentiate between the food and the bell, and that is why when bell is rung, the salivation starts. This is the understanding of Thorndike. Then after emerged this Broadbent. You must have heard his name. Filter theory of attention. Filter theory of attention. Broadbent says once the information in any form. Maybe somebody calls your name, or you get a sudden light emerges, intense light emerges, loud thud is there in the environment. Then what happens? When you attend to this information, attention is paid. In the initial stage only, early selection model, Broadband's filter theory or early selection model. We'll study all these things, but giving an overview so that later on when you study it, it will give a better registration to your mind. This is how you should study. Get a broad overview. That's why I always tell you, go through the syllabus, look at each and every topic of the syllabus, think about it for some period of time. Then after, when you study it in detail, you will realize that you have been able to make a better appreciation of the concepts because you have already been exposed to it formally initially. Your processing will be faster. Okay, you attend to it, and that is why the information which you attend to goes to your STM. What is STM? Short term memory. Early selection model. This model was challenged. Early selection model it was challenged later on through various experiments like cocktail party. Well, it was realized that even if you are in a noisy party, there is lots of noise, but still if somebody calls your name, you immediately attend to it. How? You subconsciously attended to the information. You did not deliberately attend to the information. What happened there? There this early selection model fails. You may attend to, or somebody calls your name, but you don't respond immediately. After some time you realize, oh, somebody called me. Late selection model. The information can be selected late also. Attention works in a complex way. This all again we'll study, but some brief idea given to you. And see, these ideas are given to you in this manner so that you have some curiosity about learning. Curiosity is the key. When you become curious and be very curious about your optional, it will definitely give you marks. Then comes your another stalwart who contributed like anything in the field of cognitive psychology is your Chomsky. Chomsky's theory of what? Language. Chomsky says that there is a universal grammar, universal native innate ability of each and every person, each and every child to learn language. Whether the person is exposed to external environment of rich language or not, it doesn't matter. The person will learn language eventually. The child will end up learning language eventually because there is TGG, transformational generative grammar, which is inside your mental makeup. Nativist approach. Chomsky's approach is nativist. Every one of us are capable of learning the language because, and one more thing, the language, however complex it might be, whether it is French language, it is considered to be very tough. German language, again considered to be very tough. But believe me, if you have better command over English, you can definitely have better command over these languages as well because that's an innate capability. That's why the role of your genetics makes an important contribution here, because if you look at the behaviorist approach who say that children learn language through their interaction with the parents, with the society, or the language which is exposed to them. Through that, they learn what? That children start doing this cooing, babbling, then they learn the tact, mand. These are small parts of the language. Then the formal complex language is developed. In the same thread, there comes your critical period approach, critical period hypothesis. When should language be exposed to the person? Before puberty. If you are exposed to as many languages as possible, your probability of learning language becomes much better. Wild boy of avoidance. Genie, the study done by Curtis, her study, and the study of wild boy of avoidance. This will do, that will prove that yes, critical period hypothesis is partially correct. But there is no critical period as such, that if it is not exposed within the zone of puberty, they won't be able to learn language. That is not true. There comes then another approach which is called sensitive period. Sensitive period. If the language is exposed in a range of age range, they don't give a strict age, but say that there is a range of age, say 13 to 18. In this age, if language is exposed to them, the probability of their learning complexity of language with the same expertise as others are speaking or native people speak is still there. It's not that after 13 they cannot get it. They can get it even after 13. It was proved through sensitive period of hypothesis, SPH, not critical period but sensitive period. These things will learn. Then after the emergence of the Chomsky, there emerges another brilliant person whose contribution is still remaining, still there, Newell and Simon. Who gave the concept of artificial intelligence, which is still relevant because now the modern psychology works the cognitive revolution. The emergence of cognitive revolution can be traced to this person, because cognitive psychology is no more a perspective, it's a revolution. It has revolutionized our understanding of psychology, our understanding of mental processes, cognitive processes, through the use of its replication with the computers. How computers think, how we think, there is a semblance, there is a similarity. And how we are different, the divergent thinking ability, our thinking ability of thinking divergently, that is creatively, makes us unique, different. Our thinking capability comes from very complex analysis of your creativity is not so easy. Creativity does not only stem from this information overload. What happens with the UPSC examination or any other complex examination where you are supposed to write subjective answers? You have to be creative, of course, but can we create creativity, or can we infuse creativity in somebody who is not able to generate points? That I told you, in main examination you are supposed to generate points, generate. And how will you generate point? There are two ways. One is you read 100 books. After knowing everything, some way you will be able to connect the concepts and you will be able to write beautiful answers. There is another way, creative way. once you start thinking in a divergent manner with a limited information, see, some information, limited information is required. 1.5 year or 2 years of preparation is definitely required. Once you have known the threads of the examination and read it slowly, not very fast, understood everything, churned it, then use creativity and pass the examination in 1 or 2 attempts rather than wasting your 5-6 attempts. And this approach, 5-6 attempts, even after that you may not be successful. So the thing is that there is a need to change your approach. That also comes creativity, that also comes through your this approach. How you start thinking insight learning, aha learning of Coelur's monkey. Euler monkey was given lots of sticks, had to approach a fruit, did not know how to use all these things. The most of the aspirants are like this monkey who is not able to utilize the information to reach the fruit, but they realize it very late how to utilize it. The fault does not lie with the aspirants alone, fault also lies with the people who are training. They don't tell them how to use this information. This is enough. Some monkeys give up, this information is not enough, read another book, so many books reading, and after that not reaching to the fruit, not reaching to success. What is the problem there? The problem is utilize the information. That aha moment should not take much time, it should arrive early, because you have to think how to reach faster, and the technique lies in simplicity. Simplify the process. The whole syllabus is there, break it down to small parts, break it, learn it at your own pace. After learning each and every frame, evaluate yourself. After evaluation, you realize whether you have understood the concept, go to another concept. Likewise, keep on doing. Simplify the process. Remember that there are only 8 to 10 material overall blocks which you have to study. What is happening here? Information overload. Why information overload? Students also ask for it. Lots of information. Dete jao approach. Okay, so then after Newell and Shyman's emergence, and one important aspect, that IPA, information processing approach. What is information processing approach? Information processing approach is an approach where human mind, human cognitive process is compared with the computers. What happens in the computers? Input, output. This is your computer. This is incoming information, processed, output. Same thing happens. You are also exposed to millions of stimuli, sensory information. Lot many things are happening in the room in which you are sitting, on the road where you are going. You see, lot many things are happening, but you are attending to certain information, then processing it, and finally giving the output. What happens? You compare it with the multi-store model of memory. Your sensory information, not everything you are attending to. You attend to certain part of the information that is transferred to your STM, short term memory. After you rehearse this, it is transferred to LTM, long term memory, from where you can make a better and easy recall. So this information processing approach enriched the cognitive psychology, equally supported by Newell and Simon's approach of artificial intelligence, and there emerged a revolutionary concept of this schema. What is schema? Schema is a cognitive structure in your mental process which holds information related to a particular concept. There is a concept, you hold information related to that particular concept, organize it under one cognitive structure, schema. Schema approach, you are holding a large amount of information in that schema. It all revolutionized the cognitive psychology, thinking and understanding of cognitive psychology. As it traveled further, there emerged the modern cognitive revolution. Where the modern AI like ChatGPT, which is also called generative AI, the artificial intelligence which can generate information, use creativity, even NLP, natural language processing, using emotional and linguistic capabilities of human beings, done by machines. Machines are now capable of robots. Machines are capable of using your language, emotion of the human beings to enrich the decision making process of, here it is being used by machines. When machines are using it, is it enriching is it improving our understanding of cognitive processes or not? Yes. So we as a human beings will get benefited of it. The answer is yes, of course. So both the things are happening. We are trying to mechanize our activities through the use of machines, robots and computers, artificial intelligence, and the understanding of artificial intelligence is equally enriching us. This is the whole framework of cognitive psychology or cognitive revolution. When we are studying cognitive revolution for paper 1, P1, we'll also keep on applying it for your paper 2. Like for an example, I'm just giving you an example. When we study intelligence here, we'll apply it in the education psychology. It will be covered in one go. We need not be doing it in various chapters. When we study learning, we'll be covering the therapy and disorder simultaneously, because lots of approaches are there. When we are doing therapy and mental disorders, we'll be doing community psychology and rehab psychology, which are connected concepts simultaneously. So this way we'll be able to cover it in a faster manner. This is our approach of cognitive psychology. Now we'll cover the various chapters under cognitive psychology, but a little idea of what are we starting with. So we won't start with the learning and all, unlike many other people. We will start with one of the chapters which is largely neglected, and from where many questions emerge and which is made very complex again. My problem lies with those so-called genius people who are into this discipline for 25-30 years and they have not been able to simplify the process. Rather, they are making things as complex as it can be. So that is the problem. What we are supposed to do is SAP, sensation, attention, SAP, sensation, attention, perception. The problem is that this chapter is made complex again. You know why? Because there is no method of simplicity. Sensation, attention, perception, attention theories will come. We have done broadband, likewise early selection, lead selection model, cocktail party event, and how these filter theories are critically analyzed. That is what is asked in UPSC. Very simplification. The approach will be very simplified. Likewise, sensation, we have to understand what actually is sensation. Various phenomena involved with the sensation: ESP, ISP, extrasensory perception, intersensory perception, and subliminal perception. Subliminal perception, SLP. The problem is that subliminal perception, extrasensory perception, this is taught in such a manner that people are not able to recall. And many of the questions are asked from this chapter. Now comes perception. In perception chapter, there are certain things like monocular and binocular activities, cues. There are certain biological phenomena which you have to study, which is asked, the laws of proximity, how they are utilized in your activities of vigilance. Then when vigilance comes your SDT, signal detection theory. What is the application of it? The application of SAP, sensation, attention, perception, especially your signal detection theory, is in what? Defense psychology, military psychology, or personnel selection. So will you be doing it separately or it will be done here only? It will be done here only. And it will be done in such a manner so that you score well. So what we'll do is, firstly we'll do our SAP, sensation, attention, perception, which will include your concepts of sensation. Under that, the concept of threshold, AL, absolute threshold, DL, and then concept of signal detection theory, which is psychophysics. You need not worry about psychophysics, the laws of Weber and Fechner, that I will explain. Don't need to worry about that. Then comes your attention theories, of course, attention, bottleneck models, filter theory, attenuation model, all these will do. The theories of attention will suffice everything. Then comes your perception. Under perception, what perception is, laws of perception, top down, bottom up, that is just for your understanding. Then how the perception happens, top down approach, bottom up approach. Then within the perception will come your ESP, extrasensory perception, subliminal perception, intersensory perception, and the recent trends in perception. That is very important. That is asked in the examination. When we do the SAP, we'll connect it with the second paper of military psychology and personnel selection. That all will be covered in one go. What you need to do, just go through the syllabus of sensation, attention, perception chapter. Think about the probabilities where all these concepts, just by knowing the English word, just look at it in a Google or your chat GPT. See what it is. That much you can do, and see where all it can be applied in the paper 2 syllabus. This is your homework. I thought of starting this SAP, but I will not start right now. Do this homework on your own. Tomorrow, at the prescribed time that I will share with you, we will do our elaborate class of cognitive psychology. Thank you very much for joining. Do your homework for sure. See, this is very important that you have to do things on your own, which will improve your result, which will ensure that you succeed faster. If everything I give you in a spoon feeding manner, you will never succeed. The reality, the harsh reality of the exam, this exam requires you to do certain things, and the certain things are these only. And remember it, when you do these original things, I'm just telling you to go through the syllabus, see every aspect of it, and see where it can be applied. Just simple search. Do it. Thank you very much.